Welcome back, thanks for staying with us. As Guyana prepares for the hosting of general and regional elections, officials from the United States-based Carter Center met with the Guyana Elections Commission GECOM on Wednesday. Details in this Vanuatu report filed on Thursday.
Following the more than 2 hours long meeting, Jason Carter, the grandson of former U.S. President Jimmy Carter, told reporters that the discussions were very productive with a genuine exchange of ideas. He further posited that there is a lot of political desire to reach a solution, but noted this will have to be done by the political leaders here. Despite mounting pressure on President David Granger to set a date for polls before today's expiration of the March 21 deadline, the head of state had insisted on awaiting the elections body to guide him on their level of readiness before executing his presidential responsibility. But GECOM had previously indicated that it cannot hold elections before the March deadline and has voted to do house-to-house registration, which will conclude in November. In fact, on Tuesday, the chairman in a letter to the president informed him that polls cannot be held before late November 2019. However, the opposition commissioners on GECOM have blasted the unilaterally appointed chairman over the letter to the head of state without discussing the contents. Meanwhile, opposition leader Bart Jagdeo last weekend said he had already engaged several international bodies and the diplomatic community here to not recognize the coalition government after today's date. The ABCE community has been vocal on the political situation in Guyana, calling on government to uphold the constitution. In addition, the opposition leader had also disclosed that he was in conversation with President Carter, keeping him abreast with developments here. Reporting for the Evening News, Vanuatu.
On Friday, we reported that Guyana's Court of Appeal ruled that 34 is the required majority to pass a motion of no confidence in the National Assembly. However, the PPP is expected to file an appeal at the Caribbean Court of Justice. Here's Davina Samru with the details.
The ruling was handed down 2-1 with Justice Don Gregory and Chancellor of the Judiciary Yonit Cummins Edwards proclaiming that 34 votes was needed to pass the no-confidence motion on December 21, 2018. The motion was declared passed in the National Assembly by House Speaker Dr. Barton Scotland when Government MP Sharandas Prasad crossed the floor and voted in favor with the parliamentary opposition. After initially accepting defeat, government then moved to the courts to challenge the validity of the passage, arguing that 34 and not 33 is the majority. The Chief Justice, Roxanne George Wilshire, ruled that the motion was validly passed. The government then appealed the ruling, and after 2 months, the decision was finally handed down today. Justice Rishi Prasad was the only of the 3 judges who upheld the Chief Justice's ruling. The appeal court's ruling effectively means that the government was not defeated and is not required to call elections. Former Attorney General Anil Nandlal said that the opposition, the People's Progressive Party, will now approach the Caribbean Court of Justice. As such, he said the PPP will only be appealing that aspect at the CCJ, which will be the last legal resort.
So whilst we have won on all the issues of law, as you would have heard, we have lost on maths. And I never thought this to be a case of maths. I thought this was a case of law. But you heard the judges, they rejected every single submission made by the appellant, Attorney General, and Mr. Reid, the farmer, but upheld that singular argument that 33 is not a majority of 65. You will note the judges saying repeatedly that all the council accepted that 106 of the Constitution, Article 106, required an absolute majority. I never accepted that. I always said that they did not use the term or the prefix absolute in front of the word majority. and that the framers of the Constitution did so deliberately. It was always an accepted fact by all sides that if the case is that the case will go to the Caribbean Court of Justice, and it will go there because this is an important matter. Unfortunately, one issue, just a singular issue, has to be determined now. So this is a case that can be heard within a matter of days.
Davina Samaru reporting for the Evening News.
And finally, despite the Court of Appeal on Friday validating government's arguments that 34 votes and not 33 was needed for the successful passage of the no-confidence motion, opposition leader Bar Jagdeo says his party will continue pushing for the Guyana Elections Commission to be ready for early elections. Gerald Bryan filed this report on Saturday.
Jagdeo was at the time making a televised public statement on the Court of Appeal decision. He made it clear that the Guyana Elections Commission still has to be on the ready. This is especially so if the Caribbean Court of Justice overturns the Court of Appeal's judgment.
We will continue to argue for GECOM to be prepared for early elections because there is a great possibility that this adverse ruling could be overturned at the CCJ. And if it's overturned there and they're not prepared, then that would mean further delays in Guyana in conducting elections. So we'll be pressing for GECOM to continue its preparation for early elections. If they prevail there, then simply don't have to go to elections. But if we do prevail, and we think there's a great chance of that happening, then the GECOM must be ready for early elections.
On Friday, hours before the ruling, hundreds of PPP supporters staged protests around the country. Jagdeo also insisted that his party will continue its grassroots mobilization, while he urged supporters not to be discouraged. For months, the Guyana Elections Commission has been a source of contention between the political divide. While one side was pushing for early elections, another pushed for house-to-house registration. Prior to the ruling, President David Granger on Wednesday had informed the opposition leader that he will soon announce the date for elections. At this point, it is unclear whether the government will still go ahead with these plans. Gerald Bryan, The Evening News.
And that's a wrap on this week's Week in Review. Do join us again on Monday at 19 hours for the evening news. From all of us here at TVG Studios, thanks for watching. Do have a safe and productive week ahead. Goodbye.